All right. Kind of an abrupt ending to all that, but we'll take that. Kind of a weird way to do the credits here too. It's yeah, you might want to work on that, but all right. So, Mercenary Saga, White Lion, something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called, but conquered. I actually Will of the White Lions. That's what it's called. I actually wrote my thoughts down for this particular tactical RPG, and I've kind of tentatively decided that I wouldn't do that all too much, primarily because, man, that was like the fastest credits I have ever seen. I primarily did that because, or have done that, because tactics games, for the most part, fall into a couple of categories, we'll say. But primarily, they fall into this is a really good game mechanically, and anything that I have negative to say about it are like these little minor things because, as long as it's a core for the genre tactics game, as in, you move around a grid space or what have you. There's elevation, you have classes, you can do all of that typical tactics stuff. I'm most likely gonna like it. I would say the aesthetics matter too. I like the pixel art a lot. So I normally don't give my thoughts on them, but I made an exception for Mercenary Saga because this game is actually outside of the box in a lot of areas. And so in regards to the story, uh, I want to say the story was okay, but it was kind of all over the place, and there's holes. Like, there's this scene with the advisor and Gashura after we turn down to help them find the sage, and they have like this evil talk, and that amounts to nothing. In fact, on the other path that I took, where I changed my choices around, the one at the bottom there, Data 8, they actually had an even more evil talk, which was very surprising to me that nothing was resolved in this particular playthrough. It was also just, it didn't really feel all that complete to me. I mean, we beat the person who was creating the magical constructs, but you could have had us invade Sekrak too. I mean, that would have been fun. I would have liked to do some castle sieges at the end here, take down the king, take down a couple generals. I also kind of wish there was a little bit more mercenarying in this game. Like in the beginning, we take some stuff, but we kind of keep getting roped into this king stuff, and while that's cool, I wish they gave us, maybe like 5, 6 more chapters of just being a mercenary and bonding, I guess. I don't know. So I guess the story was okay, but there's a lot of unfinished business and a lot of well, maybe not a lot of unfinished business, but there's a lot of there's a want for more because there wasn't very much there to begin with, I guess. Let's see. The writing was okay. A lot of typos, which is not that big of a deal for me. I always enjoy finding those type of things. The characters were written pretty solidly, I suppose. No real complaints about the writing in that regard. Into gameplay, mechanics, and design. Primarily the reason why I'm doing my thoughts on this game, at least written down anyways, is because there's lots of strange, cool, and unorthodox decisions to carve out its own space in the genre. Stuff like, you don't choose the facing at the end of the turn, but rather after you move. It's a weird choice in a tactics game to do that because the facing after you move, it's kind of invalidated depending on what you do during that action. If I move a healer up past the person I need to heal, and then I face the way that I move, I'm gonna turn around to heal that person. And it's just like, why bother giving me the face option to begin with at the start there, you know? End of turn is definitely traditional, so it was kind of strange that they made that choice, and it was definitely a conscious choice to do that. So it was a curious thing. If you have a shield equipped, the wait command is changed to the defend command, which reduces damage you take that turn. This is a really cool mechanic. Shields and one-handed weapons are, just whatever, I guess. But being able to defend, which reduces damage you take based off of what kind of shield you're using and whatnot, is a super cool idea. And I greatly look forward to using that mechanic in future Mercenaries games whenever I get around to playing them, because like, you actually feel more like a tank that way. And even if you're not a tank, you could move up and it's like, well, I don't want to take all that much damage. Let me shield with my mage or something like that, and maybe he won't die in one hit. It's really nice. Great swords can attack diagonally. I think it was really cool that they changed up the dynamics of what to kind of expect from some of the weapons. It was primarily just the great sword that was different from everything else, but it was really, really nice to just have another weapon to attack in a different way. It wasn't just straightforward or to the sides. Now you have the whole way around you that you have access to attack, and that opened up a lot of shenanigans for me. So that was great. Classes are based on the unique unit rather than global classes. Characters are locked into the role and appear to have one custom advanced class and one standard advanced class. And this role goes into like their next classes as well, which are like the hidden ones or the secret ones or the puzzle piece ones or whatever. But this was also a very interesting choice. I'm not sure if I've played a game that does a class system like this or something similar to it tactics-wise. And I definitely think it left a lot to be desired. For the most part, I guess I'll probably get there sooner or later, but a lot of the classes just aren't very good. So it would have been nice if I could have customized my party to have a few more archers or a few more mages or something like that, because I was lacking in a lot of those departments. And to kind of shore up for some of those weaknesses, I ended up running, we'll just say like 1.5 healers. Muriel was a healer, but she also kicked a lot of butt doing DPS. So, yeah, that. No overworld map. Missions go straight into each other, each with opportunities to shop, upgrade skills, and do random battles in between. This was also a very interesting decision. Most tactics games out there have some sort of overworld map where you can kind of go to towns or random battle places. This place is just kind of straight to the point in that, hey, if you want to do the story, you can do the story. If you want to do a free battle, you can do a free battle. You ain't gonna waste your time moving around between different points on a map or something like that. So a little interesting in that regard. And I kind of mentioned this few episodes, a few parts, a few days ago, where this game really allowed me to kind of abuse how I wanted to sequence things for VOD format. So like, for example, in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I would play the game, and then at the end, I would open core crystals and things like that, because I figured, opening core crystals is probably a fairly uninteresting thing. So I will focus on that at the end. That way, if people want to focus on the story, they don't get bogged down by me spending 30 minutes doing that or whatever. And they can stop the episode there and move on to the next one. This game really allowed me to channel that in as well, because um, I start the next story mission like right away, and I do some story stuff. I do the battle, do some story stuff, and then at the end of that, I go into doing equipment, skills, all that other good stuff, and you can skip all of that. So it was just really neat to be able to do that and not have to like cut things or anything like that. You know, I could leave all that in and it could just be skipped and, you know, whatever. Probably not something to necessarily praise, you know, the developer for, but I'm praising the developer for that because it made me happy. Let me see. Boss battles with hidden HP and stat values, and I'm going to add on here, but you can still see their HP bar and have a gauge of what their HP is. It's a cardinal sin in gaming for me to not be able to see what an enemy's HP is. Whether it's an indicator, hit points, a life bar, what have you. Legend of Dragoon, you can see a blue triangle, a yellow triangle, and a red triangle. You know, each denoting a percentage of HP that they've reached. So in this game, it was really nice to not only be able to see the HP of enemies, but even though some enemies, like bosses, have their HP hidden, I can still get a gauge of how much damage I'm doing by how much the bar is moving and how much, you know, they have left. I can focus all my attacks on them if need be. So I appreciated that a lot. And the bosses having hidden HP and stats and things like that was a very interesting thing. But let me see. I don't think I have it in here. I'm going to say this right now. The only negative thing about this, which goes into all enemies, is that there's no way to inspect enemies for equipment, spells, or what classes they are. This was a huge negative for me, because when I see a guy with a sword and a shield, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to run up and he's going to attack me with his sword. It's going to be very tanky, and I'm going to need like some magic spells or some elemental damage to take care of him most efficiently. Problem with that is, I should probably save. No. The problem with that is those enemies don't do that. You know, enemies kind of do whatever they want. And you just have no idea what class they are, because all of their classes are like Sekrak Spy or Sekrak Ninja or Sekrak Rogue or Beast or something like that, which is completely not helpful. Like, not in the slightest, you know? So there was a little bit of struggle there, trying to figure out how to approach certain scenarios when I didn't have all the information available to me that other tactics games normally give you. You can inspect an enemy, see their stats, you see their equipment, you know what you're dealing with, and you plan around it. So that was a pretty big negative for me. Enemies can just mystically appear on the battlefield from triggers or checkpoints, which can really screw you over. This happened a couple of times. Thankfully, it stopped happening in the later half of the game, but this was just a really, really poor idea that I would have rather they show up at the end of the field and their turn, and they don't get in a turn immediately, because my goodness, like, there's a huge difficulty spike when enemies just spawn out of nowhere, and if you don't know about it, you know, you're gonna have people bumped up right next to them. They're just gonna kill your healers, and what are you gonna do about it? Let's see. Aggro is a very interesting mechanic, or interesting concept, even if it doesn't guarantee who attacks who. I like the idea of being able to manage aggro. The only issue is it's not an 100% thing where if, I mean, as shown, I have a guy that has 900 aggro. Some people are still going to go and attack other people, but I guess it's a decent indicator of more often than not they're probably going to be attacked if they can be attacked, I guess. So that was cool. I like that. Set bonuses for armor are cool. I mean, you can just equip some scrub stuff, and you know, as long as it's part of a set, you can get an interesting set bonus. So that was really neat. Let me see. Unsure how I feel about puzzle pieces as a whole. And I wrote this a couple of days ago, and I'm still pretty unsure about it. I like the idea of there being secret classes, but because of the way they handle classes in this game, there's way too many awful classes. There are classes with like one good ability, and you know, they cost so much SP to get into and invest in that between not being able to swap to any class you want, I think the puzzle pieces for buying classes is kind of an unfortunate idea that they used. I don't like it, I guess, in a nutshell. Wish they didn't go that route. If I would have been okay with the puzzle pieces unlocking class if you could swap any character to any class, basically, and so you just gotta spend puzzle pieces to unlock the secret classes, which is fine. I would have been okay with that. Mana costs for abilities are all over the place. Some abilities which don't seem very good are very expensive, while many strong abilities are too expensive. This was kind of getting alleviated towards the end of the game a little bit, but for the most part, I still kind of agree with this. Abilities are just really expensive as a whole, and you know, you can calm down on that a little bit. I don't need 80 mana res, you know. Numbers don't have to get that high, I guess. You can tone everything back a little bit, so a res is 30 mana, and 30 mana is actually a lot, you know. We were getting into some big numbers there, relatively speaking. I mean, 80 mana for a res is a lot of mana, but you know, when you have 75 mana per turn, it's not a lot, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Game is quite challenging due to the enemy levels going up every mission. It feels like the game wants you to do at least one random battle, or free battle, prior to every story mission. I still will stand by this to this day, although I managed to beat this game severely underleveled, which is quite amazing. I'm a tactical genius, I guess. But this game is not very easy. Enemies hit like trucks. They have a lot of HP. And, you know, they sometimes randomly spawn right in front of you, killing your people. And they have spells that you have no idea what they do. For example, that last boss fight, that gem that had that crazy, like, holy fire with the 3 squares across and, like, 9 squares long, you know, that if I could inspect that enemy and see that, there might have been a better way for me to approach that. But because I couldn't, I just had to kind of brute force that, which, you know, I kind of did for the majority of this game. But in that case, you know, I was being a little bit more intelligent about how I was going things. Somehow it worked out. Got lucky with him going into the wall. I mean, that was the long and short of it, basically. I got lucky with him going into a wall, and enemies can't move through dead people. So, you know, I got to cheese it a little bit. And I'm taking it. No regrets. Combat-wise, it's a tactics game. I like tactics games, enough said. For the missions, I pretty much had nothing really much to complain about. You know, if I did more free battles, I wouldn't have had as hard enough time. So, you know, those were fine. No cardinal sins that I can think of. The music was okay. There's some really nice music tracks. The battle music is, or the mission music or what have you is pretty nice. It as some viewers have mentioned, it can get a little repetitive if you're doing that mission for a long time, but it was all right. No voice acting, graphics are good. Replay value, there is actually a little bit of replay value in this. This game has choices, and I guess a small spoiler here, there are two specific paths that you can go on. There's like the A path and the B path, and one of those paths, I think it's the A path, has 23 or 22 missions, and the other one has one less than the A path or the next path or the other option, basically. So I'm pretty sure I was on the path of life is hard because I didn't get nearly as many people recruited and all that other crazy stuff. Nothing for other, and if the developer is watching, this game is fantastic. I would say you should create another one, but there's two more for me to go into. And in fact, there's a third mercenary game called like Phoenix Wings or Phoenix Fire, or it's called The False Phoenix. And you know, I want to play that one. This game is good. I like this game a lot. And you know, if they want to continue giving me more Mercenaries Tactics games, I will add them to the list. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty high up there. It's a little weird. It's a little different than tactics games that I'm used to, like Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre. I mean, I don't remember much about this Saga, but it's different than every other tactics games that I've played for several different things. So it's nice to get a fresh look at the tactics genre with some new ideas and some successful takes, as well as some unfortunate choices, I guess. Let me inspect my enemies. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today. It's 7:30. It's great. I get to end on time today. I don't have to go over nothing. Tomorrow, we'll be back at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific for some more video games. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Peace.